Hello and welcome to Instablog's Global Report. This is Sukhmani with fresh updates and more citizen voices from all over the world. Stories for the day are: American coalition forces launched the largest offensive in Afghanistan following the overthrow of Taliban in 2001. African Union panel prefers a hybrid court to settle Sudan atrocities. Ugandan human rights organization demands a ban on polygamy. And amidst raging drug war, fall in homicide rate indicates Mexico is safer than many believe. Coalition forces in Afghanistan have launched Operation Moshtarak, the largest offensive in the southern province of Helmand against Taliban militants since their overthrow in 2001. CJ Akramuddin Behram has more on the complexities involved in the offensive.
This is Akramuddin Behram from Kabul on Instablogs.com. The biggest military operation against Taliban elements, named Operation Moshtarak in the southern province of Helmand, continues with minor sporadic resistance from the Taliban militants. The operation is led by NATO and Afghan forces with over 15,000 forces taking part. As the operation enters into the second half of its first week, major gains have been claimed by the NATO forces. The operation hasn't been easy. However, it hasn't been as difficult as it had been expected earlier. The operation targets the strongholds of Taliban militants in the districts Marjah and Nad-e-Ali. The aim of the operation is to rid Marjah of militancy and track traffickers and then hand it over to Afghan police before establishing a civil administration for the area.
Following the issuance of arrest warrant against Sudanese President Al-Bashir, the African Union Implementation Panel for Sudan has preferred a hybrid court to settle the atrocities committed in Darfur. CJ Rose Wangui has more on the story from neighboring Kenya.
This is Rose Wangui, a citizen journalist from Kenya, reporting on Instablogs. Since the International Criminal Court issued a warrant of arrest against Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir in connection with atrocities committed in the country, and the recent move by ICC in which the president is also likely to face genocide charges, serious concerns have been raised over the future of the country, and especially at a time when a referendum on South secession from the north is awaited. On one hand, the UN is opposed to the independence, saying it could start secessionist sentiments across Africa and reignite civil war in the country itself. The African Union Implementation Panel for Sudan, however, prefers a hybrid court to handle the atrocities committed in Darfur. The hybrid could inspire confidence among Sudanese people, according to the panel. Former South African President Thabo Mbeki, who heads the panel, has so far met President Mwai Kibaki and his predecessor Moi over Sudan since Kenya played a key role in brokering a peace deal for the country in 2005. The implementation of the Sudan's peace agreement has been slow, but the panel is seeking support from countries neighboring Sudan in realization of its stability.
Ugandan human rights organizations have demanded a ban on polygamy, a practice within Islamic law that allows men to marry more than one wife. CJ John Kibuke says the practice undermines the well-being of women.
If man and woman are equal, why then should a man be allowed to have several wives where a woman can only have one husband? This is the question the Constitutional Court will answer after listening to a submission from a human rights organization, Mifumi Uganda, that wants polygamous marriages declared unconstitutional. The Mifumi activists say polygamy undermines the well-being of women, making them prone to diseases the man might pick and pass on from other women. They mention that it is also a waste of the resources that would otherwise be spent on one wife in a home, contrary to the provisions of the Constitution. The activists say they have traveled widely, including visiting Muslim countries, and discovered that polygamy is often denounced and not accepted by families and communities. They therefore want the Islamic law that allows men to marry more than one wife checked as well. Based on this, the activists also want the practice of paying bride price and all other laws supporting polygamy declared unconstitutional.
Drug war may be waging within Mexico, but a fall in the homicide rate in Mexico City indicates that locals may be safer than they believe. Our CJ has more on the story from Mexico.
Decapitated bodies dumped on the streets. Drug war shootings and regular attacks on police have obscured a significant fact. A falling homicide rate means people in Mexico are less likely to die violently now than they were more than a decade ago. It also means tourists as well as locals may be safer than many believe. Mexico City's homicide rate today is about on par with Los Angeles and is less than a third of that for Washington, D.C. Mexico's homicide rate has fallen steadily from a high in 1997 of 17 per 100,000 people to 14 per 100,000 in 2009, a year marked by unprecedented spate of drug slayings concentrated in a few states and cities. The national rate hit a low of 10 per 100,000 people in 2007. By comparison, Venezuela, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala have homicide rates of between 40 and 60 per 100,000 people.
If you want your voice to be heard by millions, let Instablogs be your choice. You can contact us at cj@instablogs.com. That's all for today's show. We'll be back with fresh updates and more citizen voices. Till then, it's goodbye from the entire team of Global Report.